Thanks for joining for this episode of the TechSpective podcast. I have two guests this week. I have Amir Nehemia, CEO of Connecteam, and Yuval Magid, COO. So, gentlemen, if you want to kind of introduce yourselves, give a little bit of background, how you got here, and a little bit on Connecteam.
Yeah, for sure. Amir, do you want to take the lead?
Yeah. So first of all, yes, my name is Amir Nehemia. I am the CEO and the co-founder of Connecteam. With me is Yuval Magid. I think that I will start with, when and why we established Connecteam, and I think it's a story that happened almost 8 years ago, because Connecteam is not Connecteam. Connecteam is a pivot on pivot on pivot that related to other startups that I been part of or co-founded as well. I think that at the beginning was, when the iPhone 3, I think, just launched, and I joined the other company. The name of the company was Mobilize, and back then they created amazing product, amazing app, let's say, that were related to training, mobile training. And it was not only for corporate training. Any training that you want to do via mobile, you can, input the data to this app, and the app, with a lot of gamification and so on, had the ability to create engagement and help people around the world to, let's say, learn this topic. The only thing that I knew then is to sell. So I took this product and tried to sell it to, education companies, schools, corporates, and so on. And in the end, we saw that education and schools and academy is great, but it's difficult to sell them. Their pocket is not so deep. And when I sell to corporate, it was, it wasn't easy, but everyone, the mobile was in a very beautiful place. It was hype around mobile learning and gamification. Every high-tech company want to have the new thing on the block and present their employees the ability to train via mobile. And it was easy to sell them. It was very easy to interact with the HR department, present them, what they can present to their new employees in the new sales bootcamp. And it was then 6 years ago, 5 years ago. But back then I decided that maybe, I will try to sell it not only for the Microsoft of the world or the Amdocs of the world, and I will try to sell it to manufacturing as well and retail as well, and those kind of companies. And I think that this experience was, for me, it was one of the most unique experience. In the morning, I met with C-level of Microsoft and Amdocs, and in the evening, I interact and met the CEOs of food factories and retail chain. And between the morning to the evening, it was like 2 decades of different.
Right.
I met with, in the morning, I sell the product to Amdocs, to the sales bootcamp. It was, yes, I have something to the retail company or the food chain. It was, with your training app, can I understand how many employees do I have? And for me, it was like, you don't know how many employees do you have? And the answer was surprising even for me. I don't really know how many employees do I have in my company. You know what? I have 47 chain. Every chain can do every chain, every branch can do whatever you want. Every couple of months, I have I really understand how many employees do I have. Now it's Christmas. I don't really know if I am fully loaded or not. Or, I met me a factory manager, and he asked me, with your app, your training app, can I send an update, and I will understand if everyone got this update? I told him, you know what? No, but why you need it? Because before your meeting, I have an accident in my factory, and I must make sure that everyone understand that if they are going behind a truck, they must do A, B, C. And then I understand that, my training app that I'm trying to sell is nice, but it's not like the main use case. I understand that, when I met these CEOs or C-levels of those kind of low-tech industry, the pain is a different pain. And my app can solve them, 5% of this pain. But the main problem was those employees, I interact with the C-level, they are like 10% of the company, 80% of the companies don't really have an email, corporate email. They are not sitting in front of computers, and all of the tools that I have, the Slack, the email, the Microsoft Office, Asana, and those kind of stuff are not implemented for those kind of companies. And of course, it's the management level are in the dark. So we decided to stop everything that we are doing, take almost 6 months break, trying to understand the market. I traveled to the US for almost 6 months, trying to understand and meet the customers there, understand the pain, trying to understand if the same pain that we can see here in Israel is relevant in New York, in Chicago, in those cities as well. And I think only then we understand that there is like a huge gap. The gap that we saw here, we can see them there, and it was like 4 years ago, I think. And the lack of access to PC and corporate email present a huge opportunity for us. And I think, Yuval, you want to take it from here?
I mean, I think you covered it really, really well. I think, so Connecteam was born out of the understanding that there is a huge software gap for deskless industries, that unlike what we're used to as desk-bound employees, where we have all those tools, when you're looking at the bigger part of the market, it's 80% of the global workforce, the gap is basically huge. From basic communication needs to knowing that people actually show to the store in the morning, and all the way to really understanding how many employees you have. You don't want to wait 3 months to get that back to you.
Well, one of the things that was interesting to me, doing some research for this and kind of looking into what you guys do and the market, is that 80% number, and the realization that I and probably many others, especially in the tech world, am guilty of this sort of classist perspective that I assume everyone is sitting at a computer with a broadband internet connection.
Yeah.
And that's, so like a lot of the things that, a lot of the hubs within your product are things I'm very used to. I've been doing those things for, a decade plus, but they're generally, web-based. I'm sitting at my computer and, I get a training thing, or I get a, whatever, I can log in and look at, whatever, my pay stubs or whether the employee benefits, all of those things. But I take for granted that I'm sitting at a computer and have access to that.
And Tony, I think you're touching, right on the point. When we're talking to a lot of, in our world, you're talking a lot to VCs, you're talking a lot to investors, you're talking a lot to other tech companies. And we found that, it's always, the first thing that we need to do is to start at the basics, to explain how different our world is than the world of our customers. How big is that gap? You go on a bus, you have a bus driver, you go into your office, you go through the security guard, you go up, there's a cleaning person. Everywhere you look, there are deskless employees out there that are trying to get the job done. And it doesn't matter where you work, you always need to communicate, you always need to oversee execution, you always need to train your team. It's just much more different. I think that for us, one of the funny stuff was, during the early days of COVID, when COVID started to rise and people started to talk about working in different places and working remotely, we would think it's a little bit ironic because the majority of the world was already working remotely at those times. It was already there for many, many, many years.
Right. Well, but that's true, but that is also part of what seems to have positioned Connecteam to be in the right place at the right time. You guys were already in this. You were already addressing this need, and then all of a sudden, COVID came along, and even the larger Fortune 500 companies and the people who usually are white collar jobs sitting at a desk suddenly weren't. and all of a sudden, companies are like, oh wait, now maybe we need to look at some other way to keep track of, like, well, what's going on? How do we communicate with employees? How do we train employees when everyone is working from their living room?
For sure, I totally agree, and I think COVID in a lot of different ways, it brought to our awareness the difficulties of working from a distant place or not necessarily having that ability to be face to face. But I think it was also interesting to see how it impacted different industries, different types of audiences. And I'll give an example. So we saw, and when you look at the platform of Connecteam, and maybe it's worth speaking in about, I don't know, a couple of sentences just about what it is that we do. So we'll have a bit more context. But Connecteam helps organization run their business, manage their employees. It's very, very oriented at deskless workforce. So all those industries where the majority of the employees are not necessarily in front of a computer and don't necessarily have access to emails. And then everything from day-to-day communications to operations to training, it's all done under a simple platform. It's very, very mobile focused. We like to call it mobile first. The platform was built around the mobile because we know the majority of the workforce is on the go. And from that perspective, we're working with multiple industries. We're working with over 200 different verticals across the globe. And what we've seen during COVID days is that some of those verticals really took a strong hit, and you can guess what those verticals are. It's hospitality and food and beverage and retail. All of a sudden, you would see a significant decline. Existing customers would need to deal with significant layoff, which, by the way, later on turned to significant hiring. But at the same time, you saw that other places, folks like healthcare or staffing agencies that's supporting healthcare, or even manufacturing that needed to keep on going, all those folks saw a lot of spike in how they're operating. So I think what COVID did, in a lot of domains, and also in our domain, is kind of shake things through and make you think about, the things that you took as granted. And all of a sudden, communication, when you want to tell a factory, don't come tomorrow because the plant is closed, it becomes a real challenge. So we saw a lot of urgency in those kind of places. And I think it was wonderful to see how those trends really kind of spiked. And, with COVID coming and going, you would see it in all different directions. Like the ability to run your business, to manage your team, just became that more, substantial in how you're doing things.
Excuse me. Well, and again, I come back to this idea of the perspective of understanding what that market is, and so as a analogy of sorts. I've over the years I've done a lot of reviews of products. People send me laptops and whatever to play with, and I test it out and I write about it and say, hey, this is awesome. And early on, like many years ago, I was talking about how great this one product was, and my wife stopped me and she was like, okay, but what's it cost? And I was like, that's a good question. Like people said for free, so it hadn't. I was like, this is awesome. And it's like, all right, well, it's not so awesome when you had to pay for it. And so it just put a different perspective of, okay, well, yes, this is a great thing if someone sends it to you for free. Would I spend $2,000 of my own dollars on this? Yeah, maybe not. And it's just that perspective. And I think in this case, it's the perspective of, again, I look at things from the world of tech and white collar and sitting at a desk. I also look at things, and I'm also as conscious as I can be of the American bias of looking at the world. And it's like, so I look at the world. And I say, oh well, it's this is how things are. It's like, well, yeah, here. The rest of the world, not so much. There's huge parts of the world that it's a totally different situation. And it's like, and on a connected note, I noticed, looking at kind of who, some of your logos, some of your customer list, you got, Nike and McDonald's, and so when I look at McDonald's, I'm like, okay, that I think is a prime example of the vast majority of people who are employees of McDonald's are not sitting at a computer.
Yep, that's absolutely true. And by the way, talking about the U.S. perspective, I think one of the interesting things. So Connecteam today serves about 20K customers around the world. And that's from over 80 countries. And we're talking about, every continent you want, from Taiwan to Hawaii, time horizon wise, you're probably going to find a Connecteam customer. And one of the leading values are, especially when you run a small business, right? Because Connecteam could be relevant for a business of 5 people. It can be relevant for a business of 20,000 people. And we have that spectrum within our current customer base. But whatever business you run, especially when you run a small, kind of a small business, it's really, there's a lot of cost awareness and cost sensitivity. And it's about being able not to, like you said, there are a lot of great products out there, but not only you want to bring a great product and a great experience, which by the way are not always the same thing, you want to do it in an affordable price that makes sense for your business. And I think that's, when we look at ourselves, when we look at what we do, that's something that really, really guides us on how can we do it in a way that really makes sense to the audience that we serve. So like you said, not just from a US standpoint, but from a global standpoint, where, people may be more sensitive to pricing in other places around the world. And I think that's very important.
Right. Well, so, the big news this week, obviously, as you guys announced yesterday, this Series C funding, 120 million. It's not chump change. It's a pretty good investment. So obviously, investors see the value, and when I looked at that news and I see, that you're also looking currently, you have this momentum of 400% year-over-year customer growth and revenue growth, and which is amazing, and congratulations. 400% is a huge number year-over-year. I'm curious, how much of that do you think is a reflection of COVID? Like, how much of that is companies going, oh wait, we need another way to communicate?
Yeah. Oh, you want to take that one?
Yeah. I think it's not only COVID. I think that what we can see in the market, and we are almost 7 years in this market, is that the generation is changing. One of the reasons that we can see that the spike in the demand is the new generation of managers and the new generation of employees. The new generation of managers are taking the right position at the moment, and of course they are not going to work like, I will say, their mother and father. They will not use fax. They don't want to do tons of phone calls every day. They want to understand and to be, I will say, in control regarding their business. And even the new employees, I want to understand and in a quick view, understand what will be my paycheck. I want to understand where, when I need to work. I want that everything will be, like the Uber that I just ordered. And I think those kind of stuff create the demand. We can see that the new business owner, every business owner that just open his business, he understands that they need the tool to manage his employees. And I think, yes, after the COVID, it was crystal clear that I need to interact with every one of my employees. I need to make sure that they got the message. I need to have the ability to get them signed on docs in 5 minutes. I can't wait. I need to have full visibility and full, I will say, control on my business. And in the past 2 years, I think, we got to the point that the product can present is the result. And now to other investors, they can see that the market become a little bit more and more interesting. And we present a product that can interact with those kind of employees that, most of the people out there can say that maybe they are not so tech savvy, or why they need those kind of solution. Yeah, the only point that it's not only COVID. COVID is there, yes, but the new generation, this is like the new things that we can see, that the market is going to the right direction. We have a new generation that have different needs. The product is there, and we can, now present that the product can interact with those kind of employees without any training. And I think when you understand it, you can understand the potential of the market and what we can do. And of course, we're just in the beginning.
Yeah, generational issues, I think, come up a lot when it comes to technology and like what people coming out of college, what they expect in terms of, if you go back a number of years, it drove the bring your own device, because people were like, well, no, I don't want the stupid laptop or phone you're trying to issue me. I want this.
Yeah. For sure.
and it becomes a recruiting and retaining tool of, like if you're not doing those things, if you don't have those things available, then younger people are like, all right, well, I'm going to go work for the company that has those things. I don't want to work for you. So yeah, we need to, our training videos all need to be like TikTok format now.
Yeah. I think we as an audience become more tuned to experiences. And a lot of the time, the experience, like you said, the experience we have in our private life, we expect it today at work. And if you can provide it, then I'm going to go to someone that does. I think it's a lot around those kind of areas. And it's really interesting to see the trend because, 5 years ago, when you would tell someone, yeah, you're going to run a business based on a mobile phone, the core questions would be, but not everyone has mobile phones. And would someone really download it to their phone? And you can see that those questions went out of the window. Like today, it's not even a question. Everyone used their private phone for work, one way or the other. And not only they're not willing to do it, they're expecting and want to do it, which is a really big shift, in the mindset. And it's because we as people got used to using that technology. We got used to that experience.
Yeah. It's funny, many years ago when I was working in IT and in cybersecurity in the trenches, when I first started working from home, it was literally I had gone into work and I was trying to get some stuff done, and I'm sitting there at my desk in the office, and just the network was so bad. Like I'm going home. I literally have a better broadband connection at home than you guys. And I just made that a thing. From then on, I was just like, well, I'm just going to work at home. I've got a really good connection, and why would I want to go to the office? So, and that was in 2003. So
wow. And you're touching on a really interesting point, because I think when you're looking at trends, if you're looking at Africa, for example, they skipped the desk-based computer phase. They're all mobile because the infrastructure was never there, and then putting the mobile infrastructure was much, much easier. So you can see how this, accelerates over time. Those type of trends, those types of adoptions are become that more meaningful. Like think about internet cost 5 years ago, and now it's a no-brainer today.
Well, and also, this is slowly going this way, but I was paying for internet service, whatever that was. I mean, if you want to go way back, I was paying for, America Online, and then I was paying for internet service. And then when mobile phones came along, I was also paying for mobile phone access. So now I have two bills.
Yeah.
And that has continued that way. And only now, to some extent, I mean, it's existed a little bit since 3G, but now with 5G, you're seeing more, at least here in the United States, a larger push from companies like Verizon to basically say, look, we can just put this 5G, receiver in your house and have that just be your internet connection. So you don't have to have two separate things.
Yeah.
But to your point, if you're in other markets, if you're in Africa, if you're in different parts of Asia where that infrastructure was never there, then it makes sense to be like, well, no, just skip over the part where you have broadband or DSL connections to your house. Just use your mobile connection.
Yeah. And I think when you're looking at trends, especially as a business owner, right? So let me give a personal example. I think my dad was very late to adopt websites, right? It was like, why would I need a website? I'm a legal counsel. I don't really need it. I don't need that presence. And then bit by bit, businesses started to understand that sometimes today, if you open a business, before you open a business, you have a Shopify site, you have a website. It's the first thing that you do. It became so fundamental. And I think as a business owner, it's very important. It's many times industry agnostic to understand kind of what is the future? Where is this market going to? And, for us at Connecteam, we really believe that if you're looking 5 years into the future, 10 years into the future, there wouldn't be a single company that manages deskless employees without a platform to manage those folks. And this is really kind of where we're coming in. I think it doesn't make sense to do bulletin boards. It doesn't make sense to do faxes. It doesn't make sense to come to the office to ask for vacation with a paper form. It's not there. You want to be in control. You want it to be immediate. And when Amir talked about the new generation of manager, it's exactly that. Those folks that are, we're so used to that immediate experience. Like for me and for you, that's a natural thing. But for a lot of the folks that has been doing years for decades now in a certain way, it's not so obvious because they're so used to what they had before that they just accept it. But now you get it from both sides, the new managers and also the new employees. They just want that real fun experience that they have from their private life.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say something you just said made me think of, so on the one hand, there's looking at it from the perspective of all of these employees, and the employees, want to have, they need access to this information. They want it in one place. They want it to be easy. But, and this kind of goes back to, really the story, Amir, that you told from the beginning of a manager saying, well, or an owner saying, well, can you tell me how many employees I have? And that is flipping this around. It's also really good for the business because, so I was thinking, Yuval, you were talking about, having, someone having to come in and, file a physical piece of paper to request a day off for vacation. Well, using something like Connecteam obviously is a benefit for the employee to not have to do that. It's also a huge benefit for the company to not have to try to manage that and to have one central way to see what's going on and have like the full picture as opposed to trying to like manage, legacy processes and paper forms or whatever. So now you have this like centralized way to like see what's going on.
Not to mention dealing with like, sophisticated handwriting or coffee that was spilled over a document or something that just went lost. Like once you go digital, it's all there. It's always there. It's always up to date. You can always find it. So I think
that everything is measured. For the first time, everything is measured. You can see everything, and everything is live. You don't need to wait until the employee will come from the customer in order to really understand what he did. Everything is live. You just, need to open the dashboard, and that's it. You can see everything. And I think this is like the huge thing. You have the ability to interact with every one of your employees, and everything is measured.
So another thing that you had talked about earlier, Amir, was the story of the person asking about the training and the ability to see, well, did these people complete this training? Is there? Does that reporting within Connecteam rise to the level of compliance? Like, can I use this and say, okay, from when someone comes and says to me, either from a legal or a compliance perspective, hey, I need to know, how many employees did this or what's going on with this? Can I generate that kind of information to be like, well, here, I can just show you?
Yes, of course. For some cases, for sure, we can you can change everything and move to Connecteam. And something you must do face-to-face. We are not trying to eliminate the face-to-face. Face-to-face is super important, but there are 80% of the stuff that they are more like edict than, I will say, the positive way of face-to-face. And we can see that companies that, move to Connecteam, now they can do a lot of training. Now they can share a lot of information with their employees. Before Connecteam, it was not cost-effective. I'm not going to invite all of my employees to the headquarters in order to present them the new product that we have, because
it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But now, why not?
But maybe to connect to the compliance question, I think the answer is absolutely, we are great users of Connecteam ourselves. We are, in general, as a company, we're very focused on, creating a really good product, and we think you can't do it unless you're using it yourself and you understand the pain points. And one of the first things that we've done is to onboard new employees through our platform. And as part of that, you go through different trainings, sexual harassment prevention or things that are related to security and kind of information guidance and privacy. So we're doing all those trainings and we get all the confirmation, and a person just would go, they'll do the training, they sign the form, they have all those forms documented. If tomorrow someone comes for an audit, I just pull up the report and I show them, and I can tell them when they did it and show them the scores from the training and show them all the information inside. So absolutely used in compliance, and we use it ourselves. I think it's a wonderful tool.
All right, now I have a question unrelated to this, which is the wall behind you.
Yeah, I painted it.
Well, first of all, it's driving me crazy because I feel like I should know who the picture is, and I can't place it. But second of all, the section behind you, Yuval, looks like you had Thor's hammer embedded in the wall, and then it got.
Yeah, so we have very thick walls here. It's kind of there is a renovation project. Never mind, I won't bother you with the details. But when they renovate, they make it into very thick walls so they can deal with earthquakes. It's part of the making the buildings more robust and more suitable for such earthquake. As for the person, I'm not 100% sure, and I didn't really paint it in case you thought I did. But I think it's Hadam.
No. It's Sigmund Freud.
Yes.
Yes. Sigmund Freud. Yeah.
Okay.
That was actually one of my guesses. I was like, I think it's Freud.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I like the sort of graffiti look on the wall, though. I mean,
Thank you
very much.
Just a
We
cool.
try to keep the atmosphere out here. People spend here long hours, so it makes sense.
I mean, that's another. So I worked at a startup, a .com startup way back when, and it's always, it's always fun in the beginning. We had ping pong tables, we had all this stuff going on, and then eventually, as the company quote unquote matures, things get less fun. All of a sudden they take away the ping pong table, and
So one of our core values is that you gotta love what you do, and the other one is that you gotta enjoy the ride. Now, it doesn't mean that we're having fun all the time, but it definitely means that we need to know how to balance that hard work that we're putting in. You talked about that milestone that we did, the last raise. So we have an amazing team that made that possible. A really, really amazing team.
That point actually it made me think of something else, which is so this is one of the things that has become more true for workers in general as a result of COVID and quarantine and working from home is more and more organizations have embraced or at least relaxed on the concept of 9 to 5, on the concept of, you have to sit at your computer from, during these hours, to say, look, what really matters is I expect Yuval to do X, Y, and Z. That's his job. And, I need these things accomplished. I need these deliverables by this date. Now, as long as you do that, I don't care. I don't care where you did it. I don't care when you did it. If it works best for you to work from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. because that's when your wife and kids are asleep and you can be productive, then by all means, go for it. If you want to go golfing the rest of the time, that's none of my business, honestly. And I think so that's has I think kind of more permeated all business. But to the core market that you guys are talking about, this market of people who are deskless in the first place, I think that was kind of always the case. Is like they're a lot of them are not on a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday schedule, and so you need to have tools that are 24/7. You need to have tools and provide the information in a way that someone who does work from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. can still access it and have the same information that someone who works during the day does.
Yeah, I agree, and I'll add to that a lot of the time it's so flexible that if something changes, you need the mechanism to alert people and to keep them in the loop and to give them all the information without needing to do 1,000 phone calls, without needing to come to the office to catch up, without waiting for printed checklists that may or may not arrive. I think you touched it right on the head. I mean, that's exactly the type of audience we're dealing with. There's a lot of flexibility in those businesses in terms of how things work. There's a lot of dynamic elements that are pouring in, and you need to be able to respond quickly, keep your team in the loop, and give them what they need to get the job done.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, the whole talk of the ping pong table and stuff reminded me as well. It's just in the end, I'm like, I was like, I get it. You're not paying me to play ping pong. You're paying me to do whatever it is, my role says I'm supposed to do, and you're paying me for the, deliverables and the things that you've asked me to accomplish. But honestly, as long as I do those things in the time frame that you've asked, why do you care if I play ping pong? It's just frankly none of your business.
Yeah, the short answer is that I don't care. You can play as much ping pong as you want, but you need to be a good team member, and you need to feel your part, and you need to be excited about it. And I think that's we don't have working hours. We don't define the working hours for anyone in this office. And the company is already 200 people strong. We expect to grow about almost 300 people this year. So it works very, very well for us. It also takes a certain character, it's not for everyone. Like, people are really putting effort in here.
That is true. And I think as things start to relax in terms of COVID protocols and quarantining and businesses sort of resuming some sense of normalcy, I think you do see different, some companies are like, all right, well, I need you, now you must sit at your desk from 8 to 5 Monday to Friday again. But you are seeing a lot of backlash against that too, from people who are like, yeah, I'm kind of liking this working from home thing, and I don't really see, for a lot of jobs, and again, there's an element of privilege to being able to even say this, but for a lot of the those types of jobs that that do have a desk and are just sitting at a computer, it's like it really does not matter where I sit at a computer, and there's no actual reason for me to suffer through an hour and a half of rush hour traffic to and from work every day so that I can sit in that cubicle.
Yeah, for sure. I think we have a team member. His name is Nate, a really incredible guy. And he's originally is not from here, he's from Sweden. And, we had those times when you had the quarantine, a lot of the people weren't in the office. So he just flew. I think he spent almost two months with his family, working from home, but not the usual home. And, it works just fine as long as you have the trust, you can rely on your team members. I think that's something very unique.
But think about it. In Connecteam, even without the COVID, everyone, if you want, you can work from home. But I think that 80 to 90%
are coming to the
office.
Yeah, for sure.
Before COVID, after COVID, it's not like a issue for us, but
I remember a few weeks back when we had the Omicron, we through Connecteam, we published a post and we said to everyone, hey, please make sure you read this and confirm, but the office is going to be closed now for 2 or 3 weeks because it becomes more contagious and times are a little bit troubling. And everyone like, no, I want to come to the office. Do I have to stay at home? So it was really an invigorating experience to see the response to that one.
Yeah, no, it's nice. But again, going back to this, the 80% number, and 80% of the people being deskless. And when you think about retail, food service, those types of things, it's like, those are the jobs that throughout COVID and just in general, don't have that luxury. It's like I can say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to do my job here. The guy making McDonald's can't do that. He has to actually show up at McDonald's.
Very true. Very, very true.
So again, there's lots of elements of, and not to get on a soapbox and pontificate here, but just for people in general around the world, and definitely in the United States, I think people need to really take a look at their own privilege and take a look at the lens through which they're viewing the world. And because it's real easy for me to go, well, no, just stay home and work at your desk. It's like, well, yeah, I have that luxury.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, let me ask you this as we kind of wind down. Is there any question I didn't ask? Is there something else you want people to know about Connecteam?
That's always the best question.
Yeah.
It's always the best question. Well, I think at the end of the day that if there is one thing that I wanna the audience to kind of hear is that if you do have a deskless business, if you run, it doesn't matter if it's security or cleaning or manufacturing or any of those. We build Connecteam because we really believe that the work experience for this type of audience, those 80%, can be so much better than what it is today. And if you look, you have those different levels in which you think, your mission, your vision, etc. For us, it's about making work for deskless people enjoyable. Now, it obviously goes through removing the hassle, through making things more achievable, but even if you're a small business or a big business, you can try it. You can use it for free. And I really
this is the reason. This is the reason we decided 3 years ago that we will have a free plan. This is one of our core value, that every business will have the ability to use it.
So for me, it's just about, give it a try. See if it makes your life easier. See if it makes your employees happier. I think that's the key bottom line here.
Awesome. All right. Well, I want to thank you both for taking the time to join me. Congratulations again on the tremendous momentum and the Series C funding. And I'm sure we'll talk again in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. It was great. Take care. Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
I appreciate you investing your time to listen to the podcast, but I also invite you to engage on social media. Please go like our Facebook page and follow @TechSpective on Twitter and Instagram. You can feel free to let me know what you like, let me know what you don't like, let me know if you love it, let me know if it sucks, and let me know what products you'd like to see reviewed or what questions you'd like to see answered in future posts.